Hello everyone, my name is Adam and welcome to 3, 2, 1 Draw, the channel where two friends go head to head in a battle of creativity and skill. The objective is to draw a character from one franchise in the style of another. The franchises are randomly pulled from a hat. This week, we're going to do Game of Thrones characters in the style of Zelda Wind Waker. And the winner is decided by you, so don't forget to vote in the comments. All that being said, Denny, take it away.
Hi everybody, my name is Denny Brant and I'm the other challenger here at 3, 2, 1 Draw. And the character I've decided to do is Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. And let me just kind of square off with you for a bit here because I actually know nothing about Game of Thrones, okay? So I knew Jason Momoa was in the show, so I was like, well, maybe I'll research his character and kind of see what it's about. So yeah, I've chosen Khal Drogo, and you're just kind of getting a glimpse into the kind of sketching out phase I'm doing here. The software I'm using is Photoshop CS6, and I'll just show you guys, because the tools I'm using are a Wacom Cintiq, and I've also got the Cintiq as well as another monitor, which I can view my reference images, so you won't see a whole lot of those references in this video. Let me just hop over to the other screen so you guys can take a look at what my my second monitor kind of looks like. So with that, I can get an idea of what my references are without having to have them clutter my drawing space. And usually I'll have some music or YouTube playing in the background. Anyway, as we're drawing this Khal Drogo, something I really like about the Wind Waker style is that, and Adam probably touches on this too, but it's very cartoonish, and that's adorable. The style is very adorable. The details aren't too important in this style. So as the video goes on later, you'll notice like even these pants here, I just took out a lot of the detail lines I just done for them.
Alright, now that you met my friend Denny, let's jump over to me. The character I chose to do is Jon Snow, and I'm using Link as my reference. I wanted Jon to look just as young as Link. I chose this simple pose because during the time of drawing, I was so excited to get started that I sort of overlooked an interesting pose as a priority. However, I think this is an interesting pose because you can see Jon's mopey personality and it really displays his cool sword quite well. So when it comes to drawing the Wind Waker style, I think one of the more important things to focus on is the body proportions. In the game, all of the children have super short stubby legs and gigantic round heads. The adults are similar, but they're not as exaggerated. Also, the Wind Waker style is very clean in its design. It's got very few details and the colors are very vibrant and exciting. This is what made the game look so good when it came out, and it still looks good today. I remember when it first came out on the GameCube, everyone was really blown away about how it looked. Actually, I do remember that a lot of people hated it because it didn't suit the rest of the series. A lot of people thought it was really cartoony and it made the series feel like it was made for kids. I disagree. I think people need to lighten up. I personally love cartoons, and that's why I was really happy to pull the Wind Waker style as our first video.
Great, now that we've got the sketch completed, I hop on over to the coloring. I use the pen tool in Photoshop for this. I outline the entire character, and I just do it as one flat color, usually the skin tone. And this allows me, if I need to, if I create another layer over top of this one, I can just have it skin this one so it never goes out of the line. You notice that I tend to use a lot of the coloring in this drawing is done with the pen tool, and I do that because I love how crisp of an edge it gives the spaces that you fill in, as opposed to some paintbrushes will come very pixelated on the edge. And I wasn't really looking for that in this style. The reference that just popped up there was a character named Gonzo from Wind Waker, and that was the main inspiration for Khal Drogo in this particular drawing. The nose I absolutely love. Like, a lot of the Wind Waker characters are rather caricatures of normal people. Like, you notice the proportions are different. Like, the Khal Drogo I've drawn here has very tiny feet, and also very tiny hands, but the torso is pretty massive.
As you can see, I've been sailing along and I'm starting the coloring process. I really like this super saturated color palette of the Wind Waker game. So I think it's really funny that for my character I chose somebody who wears gray and black for almost the entire series. In retrospect, I think choosing somebody like Daenerys would have been a lot more interesting and fun. But I've always liked Jon Snow more. By the way, the program that I'm using to draw this is Sketchbook Pro, which is a relatively cheap substitute for Photoshop if you don't want to dole out that much cash all at once. I'm using this program using my Windows Surface Pro, which is a really cool computer because you can draw right on the monitor. Therefore, you don't need to have a drawing tablet if you don't own one, which I don't. So there you go. So while I was working on my sketch, the things that I wanted to focus on to make sure that I really captured the Wind Waker style was Jon Snow's eyes, because eyes are always important, as well as the hands. If you notice, Link has the classic cartoon only 3 fingers and a thumb, so obviously that's what I had to go with when I drew Jon's hands. It was sort of tricky choosing what details to lose and what details to keep when it comes to his outfit. Because I wanted to keep this video short, you may have noticed that you're missing large chunks of the design process, and I've just kept in what I thought was interesting, or at least enough to tell the story of how I drew this.
Right, now that the drawing is completely colored, I kind of skipped ahead on that, just because you guys saw how I was coloring. I move on to how we're shading this guy here. And I did some experimentation with how I wanted the shadows to be, whether it was like hard shadows or soft shadows. And I started off kind of on the wrong foot, because after the experimentation, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go for hard shadows. It's going to be good, you know? And then later on, you'll see that I eventually change my mind and I start kind of going over everything and making them softer shadows. For any beginner artists out there in digital platforms, when it comes to shadows, I think it's so important to change your layer style to multiply. It really helps a lot, whether you're using... For my shadows, I'm just using a light gray, and you see what that result does. It multiplies onto the color that already exists, so it just makes it a darker value, I suppose. And I'm not the greatest artist in the world or anything. There's still a lot I can learn from this. Like, I'm not very good at when it comes to lighting and shadow. My ability to draw perspective on certain things isn't great. But, I mean, that's kind of the best thing about drawing is that, as with anything, as long as you keep practicing, you will improve. And an important thing with drawing is you have to be sure to train your eye to actually draw what you're seeing, as opposed to just trying to create it up in your own mind. And now you can kind of see that, yeah, I've started to change these hard shadows into more softer shadows, especially since I went back to the face. And also on the bicep here, you see it's a bit hard still on his right arm. I'm going to go back up there in just a second and touch that up.
Okay, I'm just going to show you a little bit of me shading Jon, because I want to keep this video short. And in my opinion, it's just not the most interesting part of the process. I also maybe by accident deleted that part of the footage.
And there we are. The drawing is now complete. I've got the final rendering up here next to one of the references I used for the drawing. The pose itself, I'd found an action figure of the Khal Drogo character, and I just used the pose that the action figure was in. And yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of it there. Don't forget to vote on which of us, whether it's Adam or myself, have won this particular challenge. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you, Adam, for inviting me to participate in this fun drawing adventure with you. And if you'd like to see more of me, I'm also the resident artist as well as co-host at a gaming channel called Below Pro Gaming. So if you'd like, go check it out. Like, and subscribe to everybody. And we'll see you guys next time on 3, 2, 1, Draw.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and a special thanks for Denny and all of his hard work. I really like your Khal Drogo, but tell me what you think in the comments, and don't forget to vote. Who do you think should win? My Jon Snow are Denny's Khal Drogo. I'll see you next time when we draw DC superheroes as Rick and Morty characters. The twist is, they have to be teenagers. Bye for now.